Again, I greet you once again in the precious name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. I am Simone Malone, one of your most trusted and respected voices in radio. We're getting you ready for the holiday season, but hey, the season is about giving and sharing and showing our love towards one another. That's what God wants us to do. Today, I am humbly honored to be able to spotlight. I've had many people on my show, but I am glad to sponsor a great pastor out of Philadelphia who has paved the way for the gospel at the Mount Carmel Baptist Church in Philadelphia for 47 years. Now, some pastors can't even hang in there for 5, 3 years, or 10 years. But for this pastor, the Reverend Dr. Albert F. Campbell, to hang in there, to preach the gospel, to share words of inspiration to people of his church and Philadelphia, he deserves to be honored. I want to welcome the Honorable, the Reverend Dr. Albert F. Campbell to the Song Book of Gospel. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. Great morning. Good to hear your voice.
It is great to hear your mellifluous voice on the other side.
Bless you. Thank you.
Dr. Reverend Albert F. Campbell, I want to first congratulate you for being the pastor of a phenomenal church for 47 years. How did you do it?
Well, without God, I can do nothing. That is a fundamental fact of my life and my faith. But the people have been warm and receptive and have shown their loyalty and devotion to my style of leadership as pastor. And I say that humbly, but with some degree of genuine truthfulness, because had it not been for their warm acceptance of me and their willingness to follow my leadership as God revealed God's self through me, I could not have lasted 47 years. And I would add, as a kind of footnote, that 47 years seems like a long time, and it is a long time. It's almost a lifetime, but there are times now when it seems it has been only yesterday that I arrived on the scene here, because the time has just gone by so quickly, so swiftly.
I hear you. And you never retire from the gospel. It's just retiring from being a pastor. But God has some other work for you in your retiring years. Do you believe that?
Oh, absolutely, I do. I do indeed believe that. And so you're right on target when you suggest that my retirement is from the official pastorate of the Mount Carmel Baptist Church after 47 plus years. And it is not from the preaching of the gospel, the teaching of the word, and hopefully still being able to model to some extent of what Christ living in my life means.
Awesome. Well, since you want me to call you Pastor Campbell, I'm going to call you that because
I appreciate it.
You're on my show. I know you're not caught up on all of those titles and all of that, but certainly we give you the respect and honor. But I want to talk a little bit about, I read your biography, and all of that stuff is wonderful. I mean, it's absolutely wonderful. You have some historic moments in your life, and I want to talk about the path that God has brought you from a child, moving from where you were born. You were down in Texas, and then you moved to New York to educate yourself with your lovely wife who supported you down through these years. Let's talk a little bit about your journey, and I want to talk a little bit about the time that you got arrested for the rights of the things that you believed in.
Yes. Well, shall I start in response to your...
Sure,
your
go right ahead.
Okay. That was my last year at Bishop College, my senior year, and I was president of the student government at the time, and there was and still is a sister school called Wiley College. So through our student government and in concurrence with the student government of Wiley College, which was down the road a piece from Bishop, we conferred, we collaborated, we planned sit-ins in Marshall, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And the irony of being in Marshall, Texas to do this is that Marshall, which is in East Texas, was known then as the seat of the Confederacy, which meant that they were dyed-in-the-wool segregationists and with all of the negative things that are related to that word, segregationists. And so we actually, in our sit-in process, put our lives on the line just by choosing to sit in places that had colored and white signs, in restaurants, in other public places. We just decided to do it. And with the collaboration of our student government and the student government of Wiley College, we had enough students totally committed, and the entire student populations, really, quite frankly, of both schools supporting us. And as quietly as it is kept, the presidents of these two institutions of higher learning supported us. And my president then was the late, great Dr. Milton King Curry Jr., C-U-R-R-Y. He supported us quietly, silently, but he said, you must do what you feel you must do. And so by sitting in, what happened was that the signs, colored in white, were removed from all public places. Unfortunately and regrettably, two of our students and one of our attorneys, who was sent to us gratis from the Dallas NAACP, were killed. They had gone back for trial. I was arrested, and they put those students who were outside of Texas on trial first. And so, although we left the Marshall location and went to our several home cities and states, they were in the process of calling back students. And students, two of our female students and one of the attorneys were killed. So that was a tragic thing. But the good thing that came out of this was not only the removal of the colored white signs, but also we were called to go to Southern Methodist University in Dallas, Texas, to tell the Marshall story. And as a result of our telling the Marshall story in Dallas on the SMU campus, which was open to city fathers and civic leaders and religious leaders of every stripe and color, they removed Dallas, Texas, big D, a little a, a double L-A-S, removed their colored and white signs in all of their public places, not only because they decided it was the right thing to do, but they wanted to avoid the possibility of violence, erupting from confrontation. And so those were two good things. And by the way, I was offered, Perkins Theological Seminary is the seminary of SMU, and they offered me a full paid scholarship to Perkins Theological Seminary if I would change my denominational affiliation. But I did not do it, and I had already been accepted at Union Theological Seminary in New York City, so that and I was eligible to receive what they called then a Rockefeller Fellowship, which was provided by the Rockefeller family for African American students who were headed for the pastorate, but they were encouraging us to go to seminary. So they were providing funds and support systems and other resources, and I had already been accepted to Union Theological Seminary in New York City. So those were the days, and it was tragedy mixed with triumph. That's the way we have chosen to look back upon it there in Texas during those days and times. And that was was 55 years ago.
Oh, yeah. Well, that is remarkable, and thank you for sharing it, because people need to know that journey and how you had triumphed tremendously. So there in New York, while you were studying the gospel, you got the call that the Lord said, here is Pastor Campbell on his way to Philadelphia to be the pastor of the Mount Carmel Baptist Church.
That is right.
When God spoke to you and you felt that this call was upon your life to come to Philadelphia, what was your immediate response?
Well, I tell you, I had some mixed feelings because a small church on 130th between Lenox and 7th Avenue in central Harlem named Beulah Baptist Church had called me before I finished my studies at Union Theological Seminary. And so I had been there on a kind of part-time basis. I was called as a full-time pastor, but I had been there on a part-time basis because I had to devote most of my time to completing my studies at Union Theological Seminary. And so it became for me not only a first pastorate, but it became the classroom, really, outside of seminary, where I was in the process. You know, you have to practice to become a pastor, and some congregation has to take the risk of calling a pastor who has not pastored before. And that was my case. And since I was there at Beulah Baptist Church, they loved me, they adored me, they did what they could to support me, my family, that is my wife. We had one son and had another son, a second son, while I was pastoring at Beulah Baptist Church. But my thoughts and my prayers were, Lord, are you preparing me for something that I cannot handle right now? And that was the case. The call to come to Mount Carmel in Philadelphia came after I had completed 5 years of pastoring that little church on 130th between Lenox and 7th Avenue, known as Beulah Baptist Church, for some 5 years. And I believed it was because one cannot really put one's finger on the buttons that God pushes to accomplish the divine will and purpose for one's life. And that's the way I was. I said, Lord, if it is in your will for me to go from this place where that has been a laboratory of learning, a classroom for growing and developing and coming to know how to love and pastor people. I said, I'm willing and ready to go. So they called me, and that was 47 years plus ago, and we've had some challenges.
Yes, we're going to talk about that.
Yes, but we've had some golden opportunities, both for me to grow and at the same time to grow the people of this congregation spiritually, intellectually, socially, and in terms of even political and concerns.
Wonderful. The Reverend Dr. Albert F. Campbell, ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking to him live from his church. We are spotlighting him, and we're going to play one of his favorite songs, too. I Won't Complain. You love that song, don't you?
Oh, I do indeed.
And we're going to come back and we're going to talk because you brought me right up to where I want to be.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You in Philadelphia, coming to the Mount Carmel Baptist Church. We're going to talk about your experiences there.
Yes.
The good and the bad. And then I'm going to challenge you to share some words of inspiration to many of these pastors out here who are struggling, who are going through.
Yes.
Because you are a living angel and witness that if you stay in your lane,
yes,
you can make it for 47 years and more.
Absolutely.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's go to this song, and we're going to continue with the Reverend Dr. Albert F. Campbell, pastor of the Mount Carmel Baptist Church, who is retiring, and there's a big celebration for him coming in December. Yes. We're going to tell you more about that. You hang right there, Dr. Campbell, and we're going to continue with you in just a moment.